This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Wednesday, August 17th, midway through the month of August. I would probably say I'm based in Moore, Oklahoma, probably the toughest month of bass fishing when it comes to just going out and catching them. The dog days of summer. Where they're not having a problem catching them is on the Tackle Warehouse MLF Pro Circuit title event taking place now and for the next 5 days on the St. Lawrence River out of Messina. Yesterday in the opening qualifying round, 25 of the 50 anglers were on the water. I don't know how they determined who was in Group A or Group B, because it was I feel like it was a little bit stacked in Group B, the guys on the water today, as far as smallmouth gurus on that stretch of the water. But Joey Cifuentes, 23.4, Kurt Mitchell, 23 pounds, Andrew Loberg, friend of BTL. We've had him on a couple times talking about his rookie year on tour. Finished the day in third with 21.9, and then the guy who is one of the hottest anglers on the planet right now, Dakota Ebear, fresh off of the 7-10 smallmouth in the BPT event on Cayuga, makes a short drive over to the Pro Circuit event and drops 21.9 to finish tied for third. Spencer Sheffield wraps up the top five. Today, early leader Chris Lane has 20 pounds, but those guys are trying to then get to the next round and then get to the final round. So those weights will not carry over, but you have to catch them to get there. So not the massive weights that we have seen in previous events on the St. Lawrence River this year, but also you're talking different conditions, different time of the year, and where they're taking out of the Lake Ontario is off limits. So just a long run to even get to Clayton, the mouth, the area of that river. We got an interesting show today. Brad's been in for a while. I know we've had some of the listeners that were talking about doing a Sunline hotline show. Charlie Hartley had a cool story that he wanted to get on. So here's what we're going to do today. It's a little bit of a hodgepodge show. We're going to start out, and I want to circle back to something that I found last week and kind of became intrigued with. Ended up spending a lot of time on YouTube and on the internet and talking to a couple people, and it's about this KFL, the Kayak Fishing League. And I'll be honest, I didn't know this existed. I understand there's like numerous different levels of how the kayak thing works. They just, I think they had the Hobie Worlds there. I think the highest finishing USA angler, I think Christine Fisher, had a top 5 finish there over in is that a Baltic state, I think, like Sweden or Finland, one of those, and they were catching perch and pike. But like I said, I've never been in a kayak, but through the years of BTL with Mark Jeffries, Mark would always talk about like a league, and can we get teams together? And then, I've kind of been interested that with having Joe Pogger on before, and Joe kind of ran down the team series that they're doing at Major League Fishing that's going to be made for TV, where the guys had a draft. Anyway, I came across a press release about a guy who was banned indefinitely for the KFL for this, and I was like, man, this press release sounds official. So I started doing some research and looking into it, and then I found the KFL, which is the KFLfishing.com, the Kayak Fishing League. All right, guys, they have teams, games, players, scores, stats, fantasy fishing, live, apparel, a fan club, a YouTube channel. The players have numbers on it. They have inches battles. They have teams in different divisions. In the Northern Conference, in the Southern Conference, they all have their own logos. The Sunshine State Swamp Donkeys, the Carolina Casters. the Southern Slayers. I mean, I could go. There's like 20 teams on this. The Indianapolis Knights, the Granite State Sticks. Anyway, they have one in Oklahoma, and it is the Oklahoma Outlaws. So the, I guess, owner angler / angler, Preston Griner, reached out to me via message and was like, "Hey man, if you want any more info on this KFL deal," he goes, "I'd love to have either me or one of my guys on." So I was like, "Absolutely." So then I got in touch with Rob Richards, who is a player. Rob, shake your head. Yes, is that right? A player on the team? Yeah. So I'm used to. I have to keep doing this player angler thing. I like it though. It's an interesting stat. So he's like, "Yeah, I'll hop on and talk about it." And I see Charlie in the background there. Charlie, if you can hear in the background, you can go ahead and keep fishing for the next 10, 15 minutes. You can go ahead and catch some more smallmouth on Champlain. We're going to have Charlie on after we have Rob on to talk about a really cool story that went down on Champlain in the last Toyota Series event. But I know Charlie would be waiting, but I also have been in the boat with him, and for him to sit in the boat while he's on the water on Champlain and not fish is like torture. And I don't want to put Charlie through that. No one wants to put Charlie through that. So he can fish for a while. And we are going to bring in Rob. Rob, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What's up, dude? Thank you very much on a kind of a last-minute notice for agreeing to hop on BTL and talk a little KFL action with me.
Not a problem.
I want to get the basis. So BTL listeners, we have kayak anglers too, but predominantly high-level professional bass fishing, behind the scenes, that type of thing. And I've kind of, I wouldn't say avoided the kayak. We've had a number of kayak anglers on in the past, but it's like an entirely different world out there. Between the kayak and the boat major tournaments. And then as I was kind of finding some information about you, you actually have lived in both of those worlds over your fishing exploits.
Yeah, it's been an interesting transition to say the least. I mean, everything from how you set the hook on a fish, how you position the kayak, try not to fall off or fall in, which I've done. I went from starting out paddling to pedaling, and now my kayak is almost like a mini bass boat. I mean, I've got it rigged out with spot lock, and I got side scan, and I don't have any of the new forward looking anything like that, but it's definitely been a challenge.
So you fished Bass Champs before. You've also been out in Virginia. You fished the Federation out there, based on what you told me. So, I mean, you're used to the front of a bass boat. And then what made you transition to the kayak world?
Well, initially it was I had a lot of money invested in it, and then my daughter decided she wanted to start driving. So I was like, how do I still fish? Be able to afford something for her to drive. So I sold my boat, and I decided to get a kayak. And there's some prominent guys out there that kind of got me started. Derek Brundle being one, a good buddy of mine. And I decided to buy a kayak and fish my first kayak bass bracket tour on Fayette County Reservoir, which KBBT is basically its sister to KFL. And I paddled around and won my first couple events just paddling. And then I decided to enter some KBF events down in Florida, some live events, and it kind of took off from there. And I wanted a more stable kayak, so I got a bigger, wider, more stable kayak that fitted more how we fish in the big boat industry.
All right. So how would you describe what the KFL is? Do you know any of the history of it? Has it been around for a couple years now, or what is this thing? Because this thing is very intriguing to me, Rob.
Yeah, it started out, as an idea, based off of the KBBT, type of format. But it's a 4-angler. There's 8 anglers on a team. 4 anglers compete against another 4 anglers. It has been around. This is the second year. There's all kinds of anglers. There's anglers that live, like we got a guy, Cayman Rasmussen, lives in Utah, and he travels all over to go fishing. I mean, he's out west right now in Clear Lake fishing some events. We got guys that'll travel, all the way, to Florida. There's guys in the north that are in teams in the south. I mean, there's there's trades, and we all compete, for prize money, within our, of course, you got your respective divisions. It's set up, division style like any other professional league.
So, like, just because you're on the Oklahoma Outlaws doesn't necessarily mean you're from Oklahoma.
Correct. I live in Texas.
You live in Texas, and then Preston he's based in Oklahoma.
Correct.
And he said he was the owner and the owner angler of the team, right? So then is it his
Correct.
job to put his play to get the 8 players and then determine which of those 4 players play in every game?
Correct.
That's got to be interesting. So is that based on the fishery, the angler strengths for that of who gets the nod?
Correct. Yeah, it's based on that. Like we've had 2 events here in I'd say Texas. We had Caddo Lake, and then we had Fairfield. And knowing that he had some Texas lakes, I've known Preston for a little while, for a year or so. And, Cayman's good anywhere he goes. But the bulk, 6 of the 8 of us are in Oklahoma. But specifically the Texas events, he wanted someone that was familiar with the area. And he called me up in like May or June just before the cutoff and asked me if I'd join. And I didn't have anything going on. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'll come fish.
So there's no like draft or anything like this. Is it kind of like a free for all as far as getting guys on your team? You want to start if you want to start a league, and let's pick one that doesn't have it. In Montana, a guy starts it, whatever. I'm assuming you join and whatever, and he finds 8 guys.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a free agency type.
Okay.
They're just like there's super teams. I mean, Arkansas's got some pretty good sticks with Cody Milton, and they have their teams that are loaded. The Massachusetts Maulers are loaded. They got Derek Brundle. He's a KBF 10 guy. You got Matt Conant, who won the Challenge Series, the KBF National Championship, and one other at Guntersville, a couple years ago. So, I mean, they've got some, guys that are loaded. The Florida teams are loaded. It's interesting. I think we have one severe travel game, and that's or severe is long distances. We're going to Guntersville September 3rd, I think is when we're going. So that's an out of division match.
Okay. So this is set up just like a Major League Baseball, for lack of a better term. You have different divisions, right. And then within that, within the divisions, you have the KFL North and the KFL South. And then within that you have, so like the South Division is made up of the Piedmont, the Southeast, and the Southwest. And then the North Division is made up of the Northeast, the Atlantic, and the Northwest.
Right.
And you play how many games each year? Like 10?
Yeah.
Matches? They're called games, right?
Yeah, games.
Okay.
I'd call them tournaments, but
one day deals, and it's total inches.
For 10 fish.
So how does that work? So you just, however, the 10 longest. 10. Okay, but it's the 10 longest fish that the 4 anglers combine to catch. That's interesting.
Individual angler, they have it's just like the fantasy fishing. We also have the top 10 or the top anglers that week. There's like a fantasy breakdown too, where you pick anglers that you think will have the most inches individually. So you still weigh in as many fish as you can, because you could be part of the picking the fantasy team.
I got you. So like I'm looking at the stats right now. So like Jake Angulis has 5 starts, which means he's probably played in almost all the matches so far to this year. And it has how many inches he caught each week. He did not play in week 4. But it has however many, so like 62, 92.5, 83. So then his total score would be 574. So he's averaging 114 inches of bass per start.
Yeah.
Which out of all, this is so crazy that I didn't know this existed. He's averaging 6.80 fish per start, 114 inches per game, and he's caught 34 fish, and his longest fish is 19.75. You guys realize you have way more comprehensive stats than Bassmaster at the Elite Series level. It's like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Is this does this league make money, or is this a passion project right now? Or is this an upstart that's hoping to go places? Like, where does this sit?
Well, there is sponsors money at the KFL level that pays out at the end of the year for the winning teams. Each individual owner gets their own sponsors. I think I sent you a note. I'm a part sponsor in the Oklahoma Outlaws, but there are teams that have sponsors that pay travel money for their teams. So it's really about angler advocacy or owner advocacy to go out and find sponsors to help support their team. But ultimately, it's for a total prize at the end of the year for the top teams. I don't know the exact breakdown. I just go fishing, man, and I like, I don't get too in the weeds. I don't care about my stats. To me, it's a team format. I catch what I can catch. I pass the information along to guys what I'm doing. And that's the biggest key is picking your team you think will work together. If a lake has multiple techniques, then pairing those particular guys and their strengths, to that body of water.
Okay. It's like a pitcher versus a hitter matchup, or based on the park that you're playing in. So, like, I'm looking at the schedule. So coming up in a couple days, if this is the most up-to-date schedule, you guys take on the Louisiana Hurricanes.
Yes.
Right.
I'm driving up tomorrow to head up there. And I fished against Louisiana on Caddo.
So that would be like a home game for them.
Correct. It's a home game for them at Caddo. This is our home game.
This is pretty cool, dude.
It's definitely interesting.
What's the and like I said, I know you've been involved in it. You're not like the owner, or who owns the KFL? Yeah. Like, what is is there like a person? Is there a board? What's the?
There's a commissioner. The overall commissioner is Greg Nosar.
Okay.
He's in Virginia. I realized that when I was stationed there that, years ago, that he actually just lived over in Stafford, which isn't too far from where I was. And, it wasn't big back then. There's so many kayaks on the water now, but it's Greg. And then there's a board. I don't know the actual details. Like I said, I try not to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Because to me, a lot of that is noise. Just tell me where I got to fish and where I got to go, and I'll go and I'll catch fish. I mean,
it's interesting because the way I found out about the KFL was the noise. With the press release on the DQ, and then you have then I started looking at the Facebook, and then they're like, so-and-so has released number 55. And the more I got into it, the more I realized, you guys have a live show every week that they recap all the matches, go through the stats. They look for the upcoming, the upcoming matches.
Yeah. And it's funny because, you have the stats and you have those things, but the one thing about kayak fishing is no different than big boat fishing. It's time on the water. So, there's definitely favorites. It's based off numbers. We're a brand new team. I think we've done better than they thought we were going to do, but it's, what I mean by favorites is there's anglers that do really, really well. So they'll say, we're for us, we went in as a 17-point underdog to, the Bandits on Fairfield, and they had never lost.
You guys have spreads?
Oh yeah. We're an underdog in every event. So it's interesting, and they go in and they talk smack, and I'm talking about the guys that are live, like Blake and Greg. They go on live and they talk smack, and then they bring in their picks of the week, and I send them a message on Facebook and saying, why are you giving us such an underdog? It's based on drama and, S talking and, things of that nature. But, I got thick skin, and no one's going to get under my skin, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys, it doesn't bother them. Some of them thrive on it. The biggest thing is to remember that, it's all about fishing, bass fishing. And, unless your name's Kevin Van Dam or, someone like that, to me, it really doesn't matter. Let's just go catch fish, showcase it, and show that the little boats can do just as well. That's what it's mostly about. That I believe that's what the heart of it is fishing. And I've done it my whole life, from salmon and steelhead to bass, so it, I just like fishing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't put this together without having some people that are very passionate about it and love fishing, because you guys have actualized this concept that there's been bits and pieces kind of it'd be cool. And like I said, 2 days ago, I was like, oh, they're actually like doing it. And it's there. The more I dove deeper into it, it's awesome because you're able to do your passion, fishing, right? In a competitive, but then you're also able to throw in the sports element, which a lot of guys, I'm sure that are in the league love sports element. They're part of the fantasy fishing, which I'm sure a lot of guys are in fantasy football and fantasy baseball. You've got the show element, like with the Barstool Sports or Joe Rogan or whatever. You've got the podcast, the show, but instead of just living vicariously through all those other professional entities, you guys did screw it. We'll throw it all together and we'll do it and we'll live it and we'll be that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's going to be growing pains. You're only 2 years old.
Yeah.
It's that's a big thing. And I'll tell you though, it did bring me back to loving fishing more, because I don't, it's not like I'm on Rayburn and I can run from one end to the other. I got to pick an area, pre-fish in that area, and then dissect that area. So in some respects, it's made me a better fisherman, because I'm limited, and it makes it more simplistic. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, bass fishing is complicated in general, but my approach is more simple now than it was before.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got an understanding of it now. Like I said, I greatly appreciate it. Kind of a last-minute guest there. Like I said, big shout-out to Preston for hooking it up, and you did a great job of explaining it, and I think I have my head around it a little bit now. I can kind of grasp the concept. I'm looking at some of these matchups coming down, like circled this weekend. I just love the names. The Deep South Kraken versus the Alabama Hammers. Is that a good one? Like, what's the barn burner match of the week coming up?
And it's sad because I should, figure it all out and know what's going on. And but I'm just focused on our event, on Chimney Rock, this weekend. We'll be live. People can jump in. It'll be on YouTube. And KFL will be on several times throughout the day on Facebook Live. So it'll be broadcasting. I'm planning to have my second phone running the whole time. So I'll be broadcasting myself, all day. So we'll see what happens.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. If you have any interest, if any of the listeners on getting some Oklahoma Outlaws gear or any of the gear, they also have a custom shop. They also have a fan newsletter. It's endless, the depths of the KFL now. So I'm interested to see where this goes in the next couple years.
I agree. It'll be an interesting ride.
I think it'll either here's the two, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think it'll either turn into a total gong show because kayak anglers love to get after each other. Like, that's the one thing. I'm in all the message boards, and I'll spend an hour on a thread, and I have no idea what they're talking about, but just this trash talk is next level. Or, I mean, dude, I could see this thing really taking off.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, knowing nothing about it.
Yeah, I throw eating popcorn emojis in, or memes or GIFs in all the time, because it's just hilarious to watch it all happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these guys do catch the hell out of some fish. So, and it's pretty cool.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
That was Rob Richards, of the player for the Oklahoma Outlaws. I forgot to ask him what his number is, because they all have numbers too. I would be willing to bet that the next guy who's sitting on the front deck of his bass boat, if there was a when he was getting into this thing, if the hold on, let me add it. If the kayak fishing was around, Charlie Hartley would have been all about it.
Yes, I would have been. I had a little rubber raft prior to all this technology allowing for kayaks. But anything to get you on the water at a lower budget than an expensive bass boat is awesome. And I think it's awesome they have competitions like that. How you doing, Matt? Do I sound all right?
Yeah, you sound fantastic. Are you on lovely Lake Champlain?
I'm actually at the ramp because the service is so questionable. I wanted to be available for you, but don't despair.
I feel bad, Charlie. I was afraid of that. I was afraid I was going to make you wait and not actually get to fish for BTL.
I've already fished for about 3 hours, caught a couple over 4 pounds, and I'm going to drive to Chesapeake Bay to pre-scout a little to kick your butt again. I enjoy beating you this year after you filleted me last year. I'm not competitive at all, as you know.
You're 5 for 5 with me this year.
Keeping count, Matt.
I am. Everyone
else
is.
Know.
You're having a good
anyway,
year.
I appreciate you having me on. You have time for a quick story?
I got all the time in the world. I didn't even explain what we're going to do in the second half of the show, which is after we have Charlie Hartley on. You know what? You might even stick around for one of this. I'm going to open up the Sunline hotline. Have not done a Sunline hotline since early in the beginning of the year. I know there's been a lot of stuff that has gone down. If you want to ask me a question, and maybe towards the end of your segment, I'm not going to keep you forever, Charlie, because I know you'll be itching. You'll be dancing to get back out there on Champlain.
No, I'm good, buddy.
But if you have any questions on that, I'm going to open up the Sunline hotline in the second half of the show, and I'm going to be giving away three spools of Sunline X Plasma Saga. It is the coolest. I don't even want to call it. I guess it's a braid, but it's more kind of like a fusion braid. Anyway, this stuff is awesome, and with the topwater season and frog season in full effect, and then all the stuff that's been going up north with the braid to Floriletos, I'm going to do a 10-pound spool, a 30-pound, and like a 50-pound spool. So you can frog, you can throw a topwater with it, you can drop shot with it. We take care of Sunline. We open up the Sunline hotlines for one of the best questions that gets called in the second half of the show. But when Charlie Hartley says he has a good story, what's that?
It is a cool time of the year, isn't it? That 710 smallmouth at Cayuga, and they're up at Messina right now for the FLW. But whatever. Yes, I have a quick story. Still come through good?
Yep, you froze for a second, and then you talked like 6x speed, but we're golden.
Good.
Have at it, Charlie. Let's hear this story.
Okay, real quick. Got it. You always are at this point of your life where you wonder if it's worth it, and financially sometimes it's not worth it, but I jumped in the Champlain Toyota. I had a couple weeks off. I wanted to fish the northern Toyotas, but all our opens conflicted, and for my birthday I jumped into the northern Toyotas at Champlain. First day I fell flat on my face, embarrassed, terrible. Wake up the second morning, wonder why I even entered the tournament. What am I doing here? What was I thinking entering another tournament? And I'm waiting on my co-angler for day 2. He's running late, which is really frustrating. You still there, Matt?
Oh, yeah. I'm listening to the story. You don't have to talk fast.
Nope, I thought I
got a little bit of feedback, but yeah, no. Slow down, take your time. We want the details. Paint the picture.
Yep, I'm waiting for my co-angler. I never wait. You know I'm the earliest one there. We're actually late to go through boat check. I read the kid the riot act because I'm never late going through boat check. But I keep it light. I'm like, it's a terrible first day. You got nothing to lose today. Let's have fun. Kid ends up telling me he's 16 years old. He had 15 pounds the first day. He wants to make his first top 25 cut. And I said, well, we're going to have a great day. Well, we were an early boat number, but we got out late thanks to him. And when we showed up at my spot, the day was beautiful. The wind quit blowing. The sun came up over the mountains. And for the first hour, we had a flurry that the kid and I couldn't even talk or quit catching fish for an hour. And he looks at me and I look at him and I look down at the clock and I go, kid, it's 7:15 in the morning. We got 8 more hours of this. He goes, this is heaven. This is the best morning of fishing I've ever had in my life. He looks up over the mountains and the sun's coming up with the fogs, and the 16-year-old kid is wise enough to appreciate the beauty of the morning and forget about the fish for a moment. And we had an incredible day. That kid caught him like I've never seen him get caught. He had one get broke off in the propeller that broke his heart, and he had one he needed to call. He told me with about an hour or two to go, that's the biggest bag of smallmouth I've ever caught. I go, well, that's great. He goes, honestly, this is the biggest bag I've ever had in a tournament. And I thought, man, is this great? This is why I was supposed to be in this tournament today. Well, with about an hour or two to go, Jody, the cameraman, tows over a wrap boat, and it's Ron Nelson. And Ron's shift actuator ain't working, which you're familiar with. And
just a little.
He says, I think you're in the same flight with me. Can I have you take my fish in? And I go, I'd love to, but we got an hour of fishing left. I said, get away from me for an hour and I'll make sure I come get your fish from you. Just stay within sight. I said, this kid needs to call one more time and he's going to fish with you tomorrow. He's going to make the cut. And we know get 100 feet away from Ron, that kid throws that Carolina rig out again and he sets the hook, and it's the one he needed. He ended up having 19 pounds. I got to take Ron Nelson's fish in with his co-angler. His parents were there taking pictures, thanking me. The kid got up on stage, and the weighmaster says, Charlie says you might have the biggest bag you've ever weighed. What's the biggest bag you've ever weighed? And that kid's peeing his pants, and he says, it's bag right here, sir. And when they put it on the scales, it made the whole trip worthwhile. So whenever you wonder if this is worth it, financially, no, a lot of times not. But we are rich with priceless memories. I mean, that kid will never forget that day, and I will never forget that day. So that's the story I wanted to share, a little positive bass fishing.
All right. I do have to take exception. I feel like you breezed over a key fact in this story, and that was that his big fish came on a Carolina rig. And my question is, was this entire flurry all Carolina rig fish?
But both upshot and Carolina rig. He was definitely dominating quality over my quantity on the drop shot, but I wasn't going to move in on his parade. I ended up weighing a nice bag, and my goal was for him to weigh a big bag and me to weigh a nice bag, and it couldn't have gone more perfect. It was just it's amazing that kind of stuff happens. I told that kid I don't believe in coincidences, and at 16 years old, he said, oh, no, I don't either, Mr. Hartley. You know, there's a reason we went fishing today.
Yeah, that's something he's going to remember the rest of his life. Clay brings up an interesting point. So did you roll to the weigh-in with 20 small jaws in the box?
Yes, we had a bunch in the boat right then. Yes, we did. We had, that's funny. I thought the same thing. I hope I can get on plane because I had 17. My co-angler had 19. We had Ron's 20 pounds in his co-angler's bag and 3 guys in the boat. And, yeah, it was an awesome ride in. It was nice and calm, and it was just a great day. It couldn't have gone it's the perfect day I needed after a terrible day. And you'll find this sport does that. When you're at your lowest low, it'll fill your sails up full, you know, pretty cool. And then at the hotel last night, guess who I ran into?
The dean.
The dean himself is up here doing 2 days of instructional, and we got to catch up, and he is such a good dude. I was there at all 3 of his open victories, was actually involved in them a little bit in one form or another, so we're pretty close friends.
All right, before I let you go, I want to do this. I just threw up the Sunline hotline number on the screen. Now, when you call in, Charlie will be able to hear your question, but you will not be able to hear Charlie because even though we can send a man to the moon and do open heart surgery, we have not figured out how to get a Skype call to go 2 ways on a third-party StreamYard call-in. But if you have a question for Charlie, go ahead and call it in, and then I'll put you in the queue when it answers, and then I'll bring you in. to the Sunline hotline if you have a question for Charlie. That'll also put you down for what I'll give away at the end of the show, which will be 3 spools of Sunline and Saga. But my question, Charlie, you're talking about Champlain, how much you love it up there. Right now, how good is Champlain, and what makes it as good as it is right now?
I tell people this all the time, and it's the same thing at Thousand Islands. When there is not a tournament here, I am literally the only trailer in the parking lot. That is the advantage a lot of these fisheries that are isolated have. You go to Gunnersville today, and you can't get in a parking lot. And when there's not a tournament up here, literally there's like one walleye boat or one lund trailer in the parking lot. So these fish get very little pressure. Half the year it's frozen. And they have so much bait. Matt, you're familiar with it up here compared to anywhere we run our electronics on reservoirs. When you get up here on these natural lakes, they are just solid with fish. I mean, your screen's full of fish here. There's just more fish.
The Sunline hotline number is 405-253-5543 if you have a question for or comment, a question or comment. I know you're an inspirational angler. A lot of people are like, dude, Charlie Hartley. So I think we have a call coming in right now. Let's see if we can. Let's see if I can do this right. Hold on a second. It's been a hot minute. Hey, you're on with Matt and Charlie. Who are we talking with?
Hey, Matt. Hey, Charlie. It's Doug. I was just wondering, kind of curious on going to Champlain. When do you think would be the best time to go there? Just have fun fish. And what would you think would be a good way to kind of break down that lake in that time of year that you would want to go? If you could just tell me out on that, I'd appreciate it.
Doug, that's a great question.
It is a great question. Weather is your enemy up here. You go up here for a week and you get wind and you hardly get out. So watch your weather. The fall here is wonderful, but it's also some inconsistent weather with wind. The middle of the summer is the most consistent, calm weather. And you really don't want to fight the wind up here if you're pleasure fishing. But easiest part of this lake is there is so much deep water that it makes a lot of the lake void. So anything 30 feet and less really shrinks the lake down, and that's what you want to concentrate on. So much of this lake is deep, deep, deep. You're looking for big flat areas. Mostly, if you're trying to break down this monster, stay in the north end of the lake from Plattsburgh north and fish anything on your graph that shows up as blue if you have your setting for shallow water at 20 to 30 feet. It's that simple. You want to have grass around too. You want to be picking grass off your baits. As frustrating as it is, they really associate to the grass here.
You run Lawrence's?
Yes.
Well, this would be a perfect time to mention that Lawrence just came out with some reduced pricing on their HDS Live units. Like I run a 9, and they're like, I think this one's up over $500 off on some, and then they're also running a special on their active targets. So if you are wanting to get into the forward-facing sonar game, and I haven't talked to Charlie about if he's into the forward-facing sonar game yet, but you can do it for less than $3,000 now with the stuff that Lawrence just came out with. Are you a forward-facing sonar guy?
Boy, I am when I smallmouth fish, Matt. Up here, for some reason, and I want to say it's the water clarity, I see fish better on that thing here than any body of water I've been on yet. I actually can see the whole shape of the fish, the height of it, the tail, see them spin around. There's something amazing up here, probably just the water clarity or density or something that allows them to come through crisper. But yes, whenever I'm offshore fishing, that thing comes into play big time. I use it some up shallow, but not nearly as much as when we get out offshore.
Hey, I haven't asked you this. I don't think point blank, but there's some guys on the instant feedback that are talking. Oh, Charlie needs a legend exemption. We need Charlie back on the pro circuit. You're fishing all of these events. Like, are you hardcore trying to get back on the Elite Series? And if you qualify, like, are you all in on this thing, Charlie?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I would love to have that option to ponder, but to be honest with you, the lifestyle of traveling on the elites is pretty cool when you're 20, 30, or 40. But as you get older, that lifestyle becomes overwhelmingly demanding. If I didn't have a business to run and some other things, I could juggle all that when I was younger. But my ego wants me to get reinvited. I just don't know if my body wants me to get reinvited. It's a tough road, and I'm not whining. I loved every minute of it. I would love to do it again, but it is not a steady, normal life.
All right. I have to mute your mic. For some reason I get feedback. That's why I see you down there where it goes a little X on your mic when you it's clean on the podcast replay that way, and I just figured that out. Okay. So this is a stat that I just came up with, Charlie, and this has to be celebrated. So you have 133 events fished with FLW and MLF. You also have 266 events fished with Bassmaster. Now, if my math is correct, 133 plus 266 equals 399 events, which means the next event you fish, which would have to be the Chesapeake Bay Bassmaster Open, is number 400, Charlie. That's
what happens as you age, Matt. You'll reach numbers like that.
No,
if you
that's
don't
impressive. Like, I'm gonna buy like I think Brad and myself and Andrew, and that we probably need to take you for dinner to celebrate number 400 at the Chesapeake Bay. Dude, has nothing to do with age. That has to do with accomplishment.
I really didn't even start that young. I couldn't afford my first Bassmasters till I was, in my late 20s. So some of these kids that started, college, high school will top those numbers. But yeah, at one time they listed the top 100 money winners and top 100 entries in Bassmasters, and I was on that list in both in the magazine several years ago.
399. Number one, if you had to pick one moment out of those 399 tournaments, the most memorable, important tournament moment out of 399 events. Can you even do that? Is there anything?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I hate to say it, but leading the Bassmasters Classic the first day, as my buddies say, you were a rock star for about 15, 20 minutes. And you get on that stage with the biggest bag at the Classic, it's life-changing. It's the whole world spins around. You almost pass out. It's the greatest feeling in the world. But I've had 400 memorable moments like that. Most days on the water I have are definitely worthwhile. You know that.
What's the game plan for the rest of the day then? Just enjoy God's beauty and catch as many brown fish as you can?
I'm getting on the road to Chesapeake Bay. I'm going to stay there through Sunday and then go back and work a week and then come back and let you buy me dinner there.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you for jumping on. And
shows have been fantastic. Keep up the good work. Watch out. Bradley's going to want a salary. You better watch out.
I know. We've already talked about that. He deserves one. I was the one who brought it up because I sat next to Mark for so many years.
You are a smarter businessman than that. You don't bring it up.
Well, no, I put myself in his shoes, and he can't buy his valuable asset to the show.
From the exposure, he's benefiting. Don't you feel guilty at all?
Oh, I don't. I basically worked for free for like 8 years.
That's right.
I told Bradley, I said, you just sit there and talk. You're paying your dues. All right, Charlie, you're the man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to see you. Bye, buddy.
All right, that was Charlie Hartley. For some reason on his computer, there's a little bit of feedback, but I figured that out by hitting the mic there. All right, we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, I will open up the Sunline hotline for a couple minutes. And it'll probably be, we've been running like half-hour show or hour and a half shows. This will probably be a little shorter than that for the very sad reason my truck's got to go back in to the shop. Last month or 2 months ago, starter. And then before that, my third transmission. And then I wouldn't call it like this shows my lack of mechanic skills, but it's like it's not like loose change, but it's like kind of a little metal tingy deal every once in a while when the motor's running. No warning signs or anything, but it just doesn't sound right for a guy who's got to drive up to Minnesota in 2 weeks and then across to Chesapeake to buy Charlie Hartley dinner. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, wrap things up, take a couple questions, get a couple more questions in, because right now Doug is in the lead for the 3 spools of Sunline X Plasma Saga. It's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Your key to better fishing this season is Elite FS, now available at a new lower price. Get Elite FS9 today for $9.99, and we'll throw in a C-Map reveal chart, our premium mapping solution, for free. Elite FS works with all state-of-the-art Lowrance sonar, from chirp, side scan, and down scan imaging with fish reveal to high-resolution active target live sonar. Elite FS9 and C-Map reveal. Offer ends August 31st.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
We're just about ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get in order.
Once again, Drew Cook is in the driver's seat.
When you're catching fish for a living, you can't let a little cold, rain, heat, humidity, or anything else get in the way of a payday. I wear APCO. Any fish, any water.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
All right, we're back. BTL on a Wednesday. Actually got some cooler weather coming in today, and I've mentioned this. I'm going to start mentioning this at the end of every show. Also, I've gotten back into the golfing thing, and I know enough to get around the course fairly well. I used to be a upper 70s, low 80s golfer, like never par, nothing, but like I lived in that, like on a decent course, not from the tips, 8 to 12 over. For 18, enough to enjoy it. But if there's anyone out there listening to the show who's a scratch golfer, a PGA club pro, or anything like that, and they want to trade some finesse fishing for golf tips, my goal this fall is to shoot in the 70s. I would enjoy that. I think there's a lot of parallels between golf and fishing. I know we talk a lot about the other sports, but I think golf is one of them. Interesting also, I found this. I need to pull this up too. So I've mentioned it a couple times, the Live Golf Tour, which is basically a spin-off of the PGA, and they've had Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, a bunch of top pros have gone over to Live, which is huge money backed by the Saudi government for unknown reasons. Anyway, long story short is there's all sorts of lawsuits that are coming out of this thing. And, I've done some commentary before, and I mean, I'm also an angler and also do this for a living, but this blew my mind. So Patrick Reed, who's a golfer, and he's kind of been a contentious golfer in the past. He's had some controversies, so to speak. But on Tuesday, he filed a $750 million defamation lawsuit against the Golf Channel and commentator Brandel Chambly, who's the guy who just talks about what's going on at the games. And the contention of the suit is that Chambly conspired with the commissioner of the PGA Tour to defame Reed since he was 23 years old. He's not 23 anymore. This is for over a decade. Asking for $750 million, saying that what the tour and Chambly has said and done has cost him multiple multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals. That's crazy. All right, let me see here. Is this a question that after you win an Elite Series, the stat that you won that Elite on tax, or does the state that you live in tax your winnings? Always wondered that. All right, so that is an interesting question from fishing the Southeast as far as taxes do. For most of the tournament, so you fill out a tax form deal at the beginning of the year for Bassmaster, and then at the end of the year you get 1099 on all of your earnings for that year, with the exception of a couple states. I think California is one of them where you get actually taxed on that from the state where they try to take it. I remember Brad's been in here and he's mentioned a couple times that I think he cashed a check in 2006 or 7 in California when they were the first time they went out to California, and they came after him for years because of that, because they tried to get their tax there. So it's a little bit different, but as a general, you fill out your W-9 and then you get 1099 at the end of the year by each organization. All right. I think think we're going to wrap that up for today. Kind of an eclectic show, a little bit of a unique show. A great story there by Charlie Hartley, and then also a little bit of information on the KFL. Like I said, I know kayak fishing isn't for everybody. I found it interesting. I find the format of this league interesting. All of the different avenues and fingers and tentacles that they have to make this thing kind of fully encompassing as far as, competition level and longevity. I mean, dude, from the outside looking in, it seems extremely legitimate. It seems like these guys are busting their butt and they're really passionate about it. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in the next couple of years. But tomorrow we've got a good show. We got Frank back on, and we are getting back into the nitty gritty of finding and catching bass. We've kind of gone over some baits, some lures, some painting stuff the last couple weeks. We'll open up the hotline show, Zach, for Frank tomorrow. Also, hold on. Let me get back to it. Doug, shoot me an email, matt@basszone.com, with your contact information, your mailing address, and I will send you the Sunline X Plasma Asagai. We'll close it with the Kyle. Biggest bass I've ever caught on a drop shot in a tournament is an 8-1. I think I've lost like 6 that I swear are bigger than that, but they probably weren't. So this has been BTL on a Wednesday. Tomorrow, day 4 with Frank Scalish. We'll see you then.